Hey class, welcome back. Welcome to chapter or section 11.3, looking at Jackson and the National Bank plus a couple more presidents. So, the National Bank, if you recall, created by Alexander Hamilton. The first bank was created in 1796, and it was given a 20-year charter, meaning that it was good for 20 years. Well, in 1816 it expired, but a new charter was given, and the second National Bank was created, and it was also given a 20-year charter, and it was set to expire in 1836. While Jackson, of course, was president from 1828 to 32. And Jackson's views on the National Bank were very well known. He, like Jefferson before him, believed the National Bank was unconstitutional. He said that the Constitution did not allow for the bank to be created. So, he's not going to renew it. He believes that it benefits the wealthy, and he, of course, is for the common man and wants to help the common man. Well, this man down here in the bottom corner, his name is Nicholas Biddle, Biddle, and Nicholas Biddle did nothing wrong. He's based out of Philadelphia, and he oversees the 29 branches of the National Bank, which Jackson opposes. Well, Henry Clay is a huge fan of the National Bank. So in 1832, Henry Clay says, you know what? I'm going to send a bill to renew the charter for the National Bank 4 years early, right? It doesn't expire till 36. He's going to send it up in 1832. Well, Jackson gets this, and he's pretty ticked off because Clay knows how he feels, and he angrily vetoes the bill. So, with the election of 32 looming, Henry Clay says, you know what? Andrew Jackson does not like this bank thing, but I think it's what's best for America. And Clay says, I believe that most Americans think that the bank is in the best interest of America. So he decides to run for president as the National Republican against Jackson, the Democrat. And he said, you know what, I'm going to run on one issue, the National Bank. And if the American people want a national bank, which I believe they do, then I will win. Unfortunately for Henry Clay, he was wrong. And the American people did not care as much as he thought about the National Bank. Andrew Jackson here receives 219 electoral votes. Henry Clay just 49. So Andrew Jackson becomes president, or will continue to be president, for 4 more years until 1836. Henry Clay tries again to become president, but it fails, and the National Bank is dead. The National Bank will never get renewed again in American history. Jackson goes on to serve a second term. Well, let's fly through a couple more elections and a couple more presidents just real quickly. The first I want to point out is the election of 1836. And this one here is going to pit Martin Van Buren. Martin Van Buren has been Jackson's vice president for the past 4 years when he runs in 1836. Well, the Republicans decide, you know what we're going to do? We're going to run 4 people: William Henry Harrison, White, Daniel Webster, and Magnum. If we run all 4 of these guys, maybe no one will get a majority, and the election will go to the House of Representatives, where the Republicans had a majority and could defeat Van Buren. This was a horrible plan, because what happens is that these 4 guys split the votes in each party among the Republicans, where Van Buren got all the Democrat votes, and Martin Van Buren is going to win. All of the light blue states, those are all going to be Van Buren states. It helps him win. He is Jackson's hand-picked choice, and he becomes our 8th president. So here we have Martin Van Buren becoming our 8th president, and he has a pretty ineffective, very low-key presidency. Not a whole lot goes right, not a whole lot goes wrong. Think back to John Quincy Adams or even John Adams. Not much going on. Well, in 1840, the Republican Party has changed its name, and they are now known as the Whig Party. Notice down here the Whig Party. And the Whigs get things figured out, and they say we're going to run just one candidate this time, so we won't split the votes. And they're going to choose the war hero William Henry Harrison. He was a war hero. We're back Tippecanoe. He was the hero of Tippecanoe, plus a War of 1812 hero. Well, he's going to run again, and he's going to choose for his vice president a man named John Tyler. We don't talk too often about our vice presidents, but John Tyler's chosen, and their campaign slogan is one of the more famous ones in election history. It was Tippecanoe and Tyler too. Tippecanoe referring to Harrison, and we'll bring along John Tyler as well. And if you can see here on the map, it's a very close election, popular vote-wise, but in the electoral vote, which is what matters, William Henry Harrison is going to clean up with 230 electoral votes, or 80% of the votes, to Van Buren's just 20% and 60 total votes. So William Henry Harrison becomes our 9th president. But his presidency is the most insignificant in American history. Here's a guy who has survived 2 battles, right, against the Indians, War of 1812. He has lived, he has survived, but on his inauguration day, he gets up to give the inaugural address, and he gives the longest inaugural address in American history, about an hour and a half. He decides to not wear a coat. While giving his speech, he catches cold, the cold turns into pneumonia, and he is dead 4 weeks later. That's right, he is president for only 4 weeks. That, of course, is going to elevate John Tyler to the presidency. So there you have it. Presidents 8, 9, and 10. None of them terribly significant. Harrison, pretty interesting. But John Tyler is going to come in and serve basically an entire full term. So a lot going on here. A lot of presidents changing places. Jackson, of course, the key individual from this time period, did a lot of really good things. One really bad thing with the treatment of the Indians. But we're going to head off with John Tyler as president into the next chapter.